So, The Lost Bus. This is the brand new film from Paul Greengrass, right? Who co-wrote it with Brad Ingelsby. Ingelsby. Okay, so it is produced by Okay, so yes, it is produced by Brad Ingelsby, Gregory Goodman, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jason Blum. It is co-produced by Emily Evans Ferrera, William Goldenberg, with executive production from Robin McConaughey, Feischler, Amy Lord, Cliff Lanning, Nicole Jordan Webber, with associate production from Russell Goldman. Right, James Newton Howard took care of the score. Paul Ulvik Ruxef is on the cinematography. Peter Dudguion and William Goldenberg and Paul Rubel edit the piece. Right, we have Kathy Driscoll and Francine Maisler taking care of all the casting. David Crank is production design. Art direction, we have Landon Lott, Jarrett Moots, Billy W. Ray, and Kendra Tuttle. Set decoration is Elizabeth Keenan. All right, Mark Bridges is costume design. Hair and makeup, we have Melissa Barriella, Heather Benson, Felicity Bowring, Mickey Caparozzo, Daniela Duquois, Jules Holdren, Lisa Love, Ricky Macias, Bonnie Massonona, Carla Muniz, Sarah Roybal, and Delana Viers. Okay, we then have got, gosh, what else do we have? Where is all of this information? Okay, I know there's a lot of VFX used in the film. Obviously, because, you're not necessarily lighting all them fires, right? I mean, if you are, that would be a problem. Yeah, I don't think you're going to control all of that craziness. But, yeah, I mean, it did look good, right? Okay, so we have got Casey Adams, Dan Brockett, Jess Carmichael, David James Chavez, Kat Clifford, Chad Dashnor, Jack Dashnor, Jeff Dashnor, Joy Dashnor, the Dashnors in the house, people, Macy Davenport Sanders, Zach Deheim, Casey Duncan, Ed Duran, Danny Edmo, Caitlin A, Sterling Inglis, Samantha Epstein, Aidan Frischella, Jeremy Fitzgerald, Ryan Fitzgerald, Henry Frost, Kyoko Goto, Filippo Gardini, Heath Hensley, Cassidy Heek, Dylan Hick, Dayton Hughes, Johnny Ives, Clay James, Keith Jardine, Travis Johnson, Josh Kemble, Jordan Law, Glenn Love, Joanne Marie, Emily Newman, Mark Norby, Carrick O'Quinn, David Pinter, Cameron Pohl, Nolan Putman, Jade Kwan, Ryan Ryzicki, Ben Scott, Tom Shaughnessy, Lucas Swallow, Josh Swenson, Mark Turin, Kaisha Tucker, Andre Valdez, Ernie Vigil, Jermaine Washington, Stanley White Jr., and Vaya Vaganas. They took care of all the stunt work that we got to see in this. And yeah, there was there must have been so many stunts, right? Because although, you're not lighting all of them fires, you're lighting some. So having to have people jump and just, poof, boy, I would not want to do it. Trust me, people. Right, so in the film, we have Matthew McConaughey as Kevin McKay, right? His son, Sean, it looks like he's played by his actual son, Levi McConaughey, right? His mum Kevin's mum in the film, right, is played by looks like Matthew's actual mum, Sherry. Sherry McKay is played by Kay McCabe McConaughey, right? We then have got American Ferrera as Mary Ludwig, the school teacher. Who else is there? We have got Ray Martinez, the California Fire Division Chief, is played by Yul Vasquez. Ashley Atkinson, right? She plays Ruby, the bus depot dispatcher. We've got Jen Kissoon, right, who is the battalion chief. She's played by Kate Wharton. Have Mackenzie, played by Danny McCarthy. Hopkins, played by Spencer Watson. Levi, played by Nathan Garrity. Sheriff Thomas, played by Gary Krause. Right, who else is there? Linda is played by Kimberly Flores. Ruby, we did Ruby. We have got John Messina is there. Beth Boasox, they play themselves. Toby is played by Nathan Garrity. Ava is played by Olivia Darling Busby. Alex, played by Mark Erickson. Gabriella, played by Emery Davis. Ella, played by Marion Jones. Chloe, played by Autumn Molina. Brandon, played by Jet James Grant. Benjamin is played by Alexander Shimoyama. Who else? Grace, played by Elizabeth Hoos. Isabel, played by Audrey Pazinza. Jacob, played by James Anderson Ford. Andrew McMaster plays Jack. William Troy Ford plays Jamie. Kai is played by Chaosus Etienne. Logan, played by Bennett Garrity. Maddie, played by Mia Wageman. Sophie Jane Frick is Maya. Evelyn Thorpe is Rachel. Scree Amore is Rose. Leela Rice is Shannon. All right, Tommy is played by Gavin Lee Galbraith. Violet is played by Daleen Rain. Who else is there? I think that is most people. Mary's boss, Principal Hayes, is played by Danielle Fisher Johnson. Right, so yes. Oh, and the vet that we see at the start, played by Ginger T-Rex. Right, so the gist of the story is this. During the 2018 campfire in Paradise, California, the deadliest wildfire in the state's history, 22 elementary school kids are stranded at their school as their families are unable to get them before the fire spread. Now, one school bus driver must attempt to drive the kids and the teacher to safety as the wildfire rages around them. Okay, so yes, this is actually based on a true story, right? It is, well, okay, so Lizzie Johnson wrote a book, right? Paradise, One Town's Struggle to Survive an American Wildfire. And the film is based on a portion of the book, right, that looks at this rescue of the school kids. Now, there are some, this is loosely based on, right? There are some changes because there was actually 2 teachers, right? But supposedly one of the teachers didn't want to be in the film, so that's why we only have Mary, right? So, yeah, I mean, look, visually this is crazy because we've got fire all over the shop, right? Which, you know, right? You have just people on fire, cars, just everything, man. It is definitely something when you think about it, right? Being able to do all of that. And look, a lot of the fire will be visual effects, but it is done in a way where it looks freaking real, right? Now, obviously, I've got bad eyesight, right? So maybe you look at it and go, man, it doesn't look real. But to me, yeah, it looked pretty freaking legit, you know? So we have, right, when Kevin is going through, you know, all the fire-ridden streets and countryside and just all of this, yeah, the film is super interesting. You're like, oh, how do they escape this, right? Where do they go from here? Now, there is a lot of build-up to get to that point, right? And that makes the film just over 2 hours, right? 130 minutes. And there are points where it does feel a little long, right? Maybe a little baggy in places, you know, like we do have this whole thing about, right? Because it feels like Kevin has split up from his wife. They've got their son Sean together, and Sean now lives with Kevin, and he's unhappy about that. So there is this subplot of friction between Kevin and his son, and also his mum is ill, so they've kind of moved back home to look after her. Well, Kevin has. Sean doesn't seem to give a fuck, right? So there is like this kind of bit of the story, but I didn't really care, you know? There's no real consequence to all of that, right? But okay, that is going to then play into the whole being trapped in fire kind of thing in some way, right? A bit like at the start, right? There's mention of MOTs and things like that, which then is going to be, there's gonna be a part where, look, they can't start, right? And like, it's pretty obvious. You know what I mean? So I think certain bits were a little clunky in that regard. And because this is loosely based on true events, you don't know what was actually legit from the actual rescue, right? You don't know what was what. So yeah, there are bits that you don't necessarily care about, and there are some bits that are, kind of ring a little bit, because look, you have this situation with the wildfires now. That means there can't be any fucking around, right? You know what I mean? Look, there needs to be some sort of order to ensure that the kids are safe and, follow what's being said. But then there's other bits where you're just like, is that conversation really going to happen in this instance, right? So there is that, but Greengrass does do a great job with tension, and I mean, look, he did the, the Bourne films, well, 3 of them anyway, or was it 4? I mean, he did the Bourne films, right? So there's some great tense moments in those films, so we know what he can do in that regard, and yeah, we see that here. There is those bits which is great, right? And as the film goes on, right, this emotional connection does get tightened. You are drawn into the film a lot more once the actual rescue is taking place. So there is that aspect of the film which then, plays out well, right? You do have the fact that it is kind of in these ash clouds, and the fire, and it's dark, and so yeah, it is dark in places, but then that does help highlight the flame and all of this kind of stuff, right? So there are these interesting moments, right? And I think McConaughey and Ferrera do a good job with their roles, and there are these moments of abject fear and worry and concern that they do project to the viewer very well, right? When they're called upon for those things, yeah, they come through, right? They do for sure come through. But I do think you kind of know where it's all going, right? You know the beats. You know there's going to be like certain situations and, right? So I think in some ways the film is like paint by numbers, right? You know all the hits. But even though you do, again, it still works in like these pivotal places. You know, the drama and all of that. You do thankfully buy into that when it's there. Right? But only when really we have the kid rescue. Like in certain other parts of it, you don't really feel it. Right? Like with the fire brigade at the start of the film. You're not buying into any danger in those moments. And I think for the film to completely work, you have to buy into every moment, you know? So it is a little uneven. It is up and down. But the pluses, as I said, like the visuals, right? And then these real moments of tension and fear, right? Like, these are the film's strengths. So, yeah, like, there are definitely moments that are well worth the watch. So if you have Apple TV, you know, you might want to check it out. I don't think it's the film that you get an Apple subscription for. It's not that type of joint, right? It's not that strong a film. But yeah, there is definitely these positive moments of storytelling. You know what I mean? So it has now dropped on Apple TV. So yeah, you might want to check it out. But yeah, it kind of depends on, you know, what draws you to film, right? Like, do you like these real life stories? You know, it kind of reminded me of a film that we looked at a few years ago too. I believe it was On Fire, right? I feel that was the name of this one. Yeah, On Fire does seem like it is the film, right? I think it was from Vision Films, you know? Yes, it definitely was On Fire, and we looked at it. Ooh, when was this one? As it was a while back. Yes, it was a while back. April last year, right? So I think if you enjoyed On Fire, I think you will, like The Lost Bus. And as I said, it is now playing on Apple TV. So, people, if it sounds like it's your jam, go check it out.